Joseph Odiboye again, and I'm just going to quickly run through my idea of any structure called business or investment or anything that anyone will refer to as a project. If you look at most organizations, and you can actually do it right now while I'm speaking, just look at anything. Take anything, for instance. There's always a product or a main objective or a goal or a main assignment or a main project that the person or that structure is centered around, and there is always a how to that project or that goal. There's a way things are done that defines that particular system. If it is manufacturing, then you know that manufacturing is done in a certain way. If it is services is done in a certain way. If it is any kind of product, it's going to be done in a certain way. And now when that is being done, then the next thing you would see usually would always be people being engaged to carry on those processes, or the how to. The how to is being implemented by people, and those people are also very as important as the process. In fact, it starts with people before it even gets into process, because whoever comes up with the product and the process would have been a part of the people or the human capital of that system. And this is just me trying to lead us into the idea of every organization across the world. And this is me now pulling this out of my experience both in West Africa and in the UK, and comparing the work environment and trying to draw some similarities and gaining understanding on how to really manage through the dynamics and the differences. I've noticed in most cases, these elements I'm going to be mentioning, which of course I've already started mentioning, from the products to the process, from the process to the people, and the remaining two I'm yet to mention, that these elements that are being defined are just in different percentages in various organizations, and that's what makes the difference. However, they are all present and they all play a role in how you perceive that organization. Now we have two more elements that haven't been mentioned, and the next one is policies. And policies is meant to guide the people and also ensure the process is being maintained. Process is the how to. The people carry on the process. When you have people, it calls the responsibility of guiding the people and ensuring discipline. And of course, discipline goes into different other areas. And when you now have the policy, you now allow people to be themselves, because human beings are not like machines, are not like gadgets or equipments that we have that are given specific instruction and just carry it out. They also have emotions, they have feelings, they have experience, they have understanding, they have many things that makes them human beings. And those human beings tend to start forming bonds and networking and interacting and communicating and doing every other thing. And all these things put together now interprets into the rule of politics. And politics is just the power play or the game of interest or interaction amongst people. And that summarizes the 5 pillars of every system. In fact, it summarizes every country and how they run. It summarizes every business and how they run. It summarizes every family and how they run. It summarizes anything that can be defined as a system. So the first would always be what they stand for, which I would describe as the product. The second would be the process, how they carry on what they stand for, what exactly they will do in any situation that would define them as themselves, or whatever dreams they have. How do they carry on the activities towards achieving that dream? Then the next would be the people who are carrying on that activity, and we would have the rules that guides those people. Then we have the politics, which is the power play or the game of interest, exchange of perception. I hope this background is clear before we now get into how it affects organization. I have looked into different organizations, and I see that these things are constant in all the organizations I've worked in, and even businesses I've had to supervise or manage. If you look at these businesses, all of them have one thing in common. They always want to achieve their business objectives using the people, and they set some processes in place for the people to follow through so that they can actually get those dreams achieved. Where most organizations miss it is always in the policies they have in place, which of course comes on the management now, or the politics which is being practiced in that organization, which is the power play or the game of choices and interest in the organization, which is partly of management and mostly the employee in that organization. And with different percentages of management's focus on these elements defines how healthy those organizations would be for any individual that chooses to be part of the organization or even achieving the dreams that they want to achieve. I want you to actually understand clearly that there is no dream that can be achieved without the instrumentality of people. People are key to achieving any dream, and that's why I so much desire to talk about any organization from the angle of the human capital, because the human capital is key to whatever objective. If you can sell the dream perceived by the CEO or the management to all the employees and also get them to be committed to that dream in the way they love to be spoken to and understanding their peculiarity, you most likely would achieve that dream faster. I mean, it's almost like the principle of the Bible: one shall chase 1,000 and two shall chase 10,000. That's the power of people. I would always say most times that you are as influential as the people you have in your network. And if you have healthy, good, productive, valuable people in your network, then you can imagine how much you have by the capacity of where they also have influences and reaches. And this is just a principle. Now, looking at these organizations, you see that different organizations will give different preference to these elements. Some would actually focus more on the product, and I think that's one of the mistakes many organizations would do. They look more at whatever product they are selling, and they forget about the instrumentality or the instruments used in selling those products. So when you look at the product and you forget how those products are being sold, you might actually make one or two sales or maybe create an impression, but it won't take long before you start letting out those values or start losing your grip of that kind of system that you run. Most employers focus more on the products and most times the process, and that's why you see some organizations will tell you this is the rule, this is the product we're selling, and this is the rule, and forgetting that the people who are meant to carry out the process towards achieving the goal or the dreams around the product or whatever services that is being sold, those people also are to be considered. Now, most organizations would not look at the importance of the HR in this process or how the HR also can help them achieve those dreams. And some would put the preference, but I've seen over the years with my experience, and I mean my experience as a head of HR at different levels, I've also seen that most HR actually have been reduced to just managing the people and keeping them within a particular controllable size or capacity so that they can actually fit into the process defined by the business owner, which in some cases could work, because then when you look at the economics of needs, you see people would want to preserve what it is that keeps the food coming on their table. But the moment you allow the HR to see the importance and also get the HR to explore the capacity of managing people and bringing out the best in people, you will see that dream achieved quicker and faster. And I'm not using this medium to speak about the HR or whatever. I'm just trying to emphasize the importance of the various departments of these 5 P's that have been mentioned. So most employers will focus on the products and look at the process, which is carefully designed. When with an idea, they say, okay, if we want to start making shoes or we want to start providing care to the public. The next thing they do is, this is the process we need. We need to get rooms, if it's the domiciliary care, or it probably is a care home, or it's probably what's it called, a little provision store, or maybe you want to start selling some items, or you want to run a service center. Then you look at the process. What are the things that are needed to achieve that? That is being designed by the team who came up with that idea, or whoever it is an expert. And some of these things have been explained in the business plan. Now, when these things are being clearly defined, you now come to who would drive this process. If it's a service center, or maybe an automobile service center, the next thing you would need is, you need mechanics, you need people who would handle the admin, you need a sales team, you need the account department. These are now people who will drive the process you have defined. If it's a care home, you would definitely need all the functional departments that would run the system, so that when you have people coming in, you don't have to now start thinking of how to render the service, which is, the product has been defined, the process has also been defined. Then you now fetch the people into the process, and that's also what defines the job descriptions, the task allocations, and everything that comes in. Now, the dynamic play in all of this is, most times people are not being seen as important as the process. You feel the process is more important, which of course now calls for the flexibility and the continuous development of process, because if the process is final and done and dusted from the point before the people were invited, you then would not need people to grow, because when people come in, they will do what people are meant to do. Human beings are meant to do, human resources are meant to do, which is continuously yearn for growth, expansion, development, creativity, flexibility, and this element goes on and on. And one thing, some parts that they constantly neglect is the people. That's talking about employers. Now, forget about the importance of people. Some employers, some actually would look at the importance of people and would do everything possible to make the people feel very comfortable, part of the system, and also take ideas in how to improve the system from the people. And when this has been taken, it goes further to develop the process and help them to fine-tune the quality of product. And that's where you now see the dreams now getting achieved faster, and new dreams being designed and new products being designed. And that's it. They also forget to they also are recommended to play less in the politics of the people. Because when people are found together, you would see people gravitate towards each other. You will see people form bonds. You will see and people create some tag teams, and this has its positive effect and negative effect. The positive effect is the fact that if it is being seen from teamwork and leads into collaboration, it tends to help the job to get done faster. People would be relaxed and be themselves and give their best when they feel at home, when they feel there is a vested interest. I would give all I have to my family to ensure that they are doing very well. If you fall into my friend circle, I would most likely want to give a lot to improve your person if truly you're my friend. And if I'm working with you in a system, I wouldn't actually just do the job to get paid. I would do the job because I believe it is part of my responsibility to you as a friend or someone who I'm connected with in some ways. So that's a positive part of people forming tag team. Now, if this tag team is not well managed, and if it is not being sold across the functional divide of the process, you most likely would have this now becoming a stumbling block to the productivity expected in the business. And what do I mean by this? You would find a lot of people who would be a certain way when working with this particular team and be another way when working with this particular team. And this becomes a problem. And this is where the HR now comes in, or the management. I would say management, because not many organizations would create a department for the HR, but they believe it's part of the responsibility of the manager to ensure all the functional units are positively included in the process, and also all that is needed is but that's why managers also need to understand what it means to manage people, because they are as important as the process, and the process is what arrives at the product or the goal or the dreams that is being desired. So if the managers or the management or the HR can understand the politics or the rule of people interaction and everything, it will play a a vital role in helping the dreams to come true, and also helping the people to stay committed in that particular process. Now, looking at the employee, this is one of the things I've observed about employees, because we've just spoken about the employers. The employees usually focus more on themselves. Well, not just themselves. They look at what they look at is usually the process. So when a person gets on the job, what's the first thing he's been handed over the job description? So he looks at the job he's meant to do. He tries to understand the process, how is it being done, and gets committed to the process. So sometimes many people get engrossed in the process and forget about what the important thing, which was also mentioned in the case of the employers, the people. So employees don't see the relevance of being able to understand how what they do contributes to the overall goal, and that affects them. Even, I mean, if someone was in a football team and you just think of yourself and the football, and forgetting the fact that you have other players who are also going to be able to help you get the overall goal of scoring into the opponent's net, you literally very selfish, you can be very discriminatory, you can be very nonchalant, you can be very distracted. All of these things can come together and make the whole essence of the system to be defeated. So employees get carried away in the process and they forget the essence of the people, the reason why the people were engaged. Why were you put in that department? What is the main task you're meant to do? And that's where the HR people come up with the whole training and the whole capacity building topics like the team building, team bonding, and work-life balance, and all these things, because it opens you to understand that you are not in isolation, but you are in a team, and what you do is also part of a system. And one other thing that most employees get carried away with, when they now choose to think about the people, they don't think about the people from the angle of how do they contribute to the overall goal. They think about the people from the tag team, which is a negative divide of the earlier analysis of the looking at the people when they look at the politics of people interaction. Now, the moment people start forming tag team based on personal preferences, it affects the overall objective, and it slows down the productivity, slows down the results, slows down the dreams, slows down the expectation from the business. It creates a clog in the wheel of productivity, and that becomes a concern. Now, one of the recommendations I would give to most employees, which HR should also be mindful of when relating with most employees, should be discouraging employees from too excessive focus on the process. Of course, process is important, but a balance. Now, helping employee to also understand the flow of the 5 P's: the product, the process, the people, the policies that helps the people, and the politics of people interaction. If this is being sold to the employee, it would make you have managers at different levels as against just having employees who are working to get paid. Of course, you can't have everybody on the same page, but if you actually keep this as a practice constantly, you would most likely would have more people on the divide of commitment, because you already have one thing working in your favor: the economic, the economic, the power play, or the politics of economics, where people need to get work to be able to meet their personal needs. So that is already making you understand people come to the job not just because they want to exchange skills, but also want to meet their own basic needs. But if you can have them understand the principle of the workplace, you will get them most times having to do it the right way, and you also will have lesser work to do. So, and also discouraging that tag team, which of course should have been used positively by understanding that the organization is your family, is your home, is your network. That's how you get to succeed on your job. And one of the things we keep saying is that you're as weak as your weakest link. And if people have this mindset, it helps them to achieve more. It helps the organization to achieve more. It also creates satisfaction in the people. It also creates that excitement in the minds of the people towards going to the workplace every day and finding themselves participate in the work process. Now, employee should focus more, and this is now recommendation. The employee focus, what you think of doing to help them get to this particular point will be motivation. How do I motivate those people? What's the compensation I need to put in place for certain milestones being achieved, so that the people would understand that you're not just doing this for the sake of working and earning a salary, but when you do something remarkable, you get compensated. There should also be more like a career path, a career growth path defined for each employee, so that the employee can actually see a dream. They can see this as a career and not just a job. And that's one other topic that I'm just going to spend time to look at again, which is career and job. The people don't give much commitment to jobs if it's just to pay bills, as much as they do to career, when they know that there is also there's an identity to this than just paying bills. And career growth, of course, is to be focused on for you to get the employee to the point of being part of the system, and recognition for invested effort or significant. And I think many organizations make an attempt at this, but might not do it well enough to really get to the core of the system. And I know it's never a perfect system, but sometimes you actually understand where these things lie. I told you it's more of a percentage of each of these elements, and if it is more on the percentage that doesn't work for your kind of business, you will still struggle in managing people. And that is how you can get the people to get to this point. And sometimes have a follow-up system in managing the employee mental health and understanding the personality of the people, because beyond the people being employee or the skills they've got to exchange, there is also other part of their life which is also capable of affecting the job. That is also something that should be looked at. Now, looking at the employer, the focus should be on encouraging constantly teamwork, not individual performances or individual exhibition. It should always be teamwork. Constantly project and promote teamwork, and also let each employee understand accountability. How accountable are you on the responsibilities that has been assigned to you? If you have someone do this, can they take responsibility for what they've done? Are they willing to account for their involvement in that particular activity? And also promoting good communication. Most times people have poor communication skills and they rub it off, even though they have skills or have capacity. But that in itself is also an issue, and that has a problem in the whole system. So remember, what I've just said is we've got the product, we've got the process, which is defined process or defined steps to getting the expectations out of the product or the dreams associated with the products achieved. Then we have the people who actually drive that process. We have the policies that guides both the people and the process. Then we have the politics, which is the rule of interaction between the people and the whole system, and different percentage of focus given by any organization to any of these elements defines the culture of that element. And many people would get a job, but when they get to understand the culture or the politics or how the blend of the 5 P's is being managed, then it defines if they want to stay or they want to leave. And when you have high attrition rate or the rate at which people leave an organization, it also erodes the quality or the value system. It also erodes the core value of that organization and makes them now to lose that significance or that feel. It's almost like you have a perception of a particular system to be very wonderful, and gradually that perception starts dropping until when it now becomes a struggle for people to see that system as what it used to be because of constant exchange of such skills. So this is how to retain more of the team, and also ensure that the skills are also in place and the dream is achieved. And I call it a win-win situation when you can actually manage these 5 elements very well. Thank you, and see you next time.